Hi guys, my name is Robyn and today I'm here to talk about the books that I have started but never finished. So I have a bit of a problem with big books, and that is that I start them, get around halfway through, and then put them down and never pick them up again. Usually it's because they're so long that I can't really be bothered to get to the end, or new books come out that I'm really excited for, something like that. Usually the books that I'm reading are kind of dragging, and so I put them down intending to pick them up because I do intend to finish all of these books, but I just then never do. I think all of these books as well are quite hyped, which is what gets me into reading them, but then I just don't finish. So we'll start off with the book that I feel least guilty about, and that one is The Wicked King by Holly Black. And I feel least guilty about this one because I only got about 20 pages in. So I don't feel too bad. Like I barely started it. Some of these I got really far in and then put them down, but this one I was barely into it. I think at the time a new book was released, and so I put it down for the time being. And I did mean to read it last month, but didn't get around to it again. I will definitely be finishing this book one day. I will definitely need to restart. As I said, I was only 20 pages in anyway, so that really doesn't matter. But I hope to love this book and then continue on with the series. One of the other reasons I think that I put it down is I wasn't really in the mood for this particular book. I loved the first book, I gave it 5 stars, but it is quite dense and really political, so I have to be in a frame of mind where I can really pay attention to what's happening, or I'll just miss a lot of stuff that's going on. And at the time I think I was at uni still and just didn't have the time to devote to it, but I have 5 months off. So maybe I will do it now so that I'll have the time and the patience and the attention to devote to this book and to love it. This is the second book in the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. As I said, I loved the first book, gave it 5 stars. In this book we follow this human girl named Jude who was taken from her home in the human world and was brought into the Fae realm when they were children. That was because her mother had previously been married to a Fae male who is the father of their eldest sister. Jude is a twin, and the twins were just plain human, had no Fae blood, but because the Fae male, who was married to their mother before, came and killed their parents, he had to then take them all to the Fae realm and take care of them. This series is really brutal as well as being really political. It is really dark and deadly and great. I absolutely loved it, and I'm hoping to love this series as well. This book, I should say. And then the last book is The Queen of Nothing, I think it's called. But hopefully I'll finish these both off, maybe before I go back to uni, and hopefully love them. The next book that I have is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. So this book I got, so it's about 250 pages in, and this is about 700 pages. It's a really little mass market paperback, and it is quite a dense read, which I've heard from Brandon Sanderson's other books. I started reading this book, it's got to be about 4 years ago now, when I was living in Perth in Australia, and now I live in Melbourne. So it's been quite a while since I started this book. And I think the fact that it was so dense and so long was the reason that I put it down. I was really enjoying it, but it does have quite a complex kind of world and magic system, and we follow a few different perspectives as well, and I was enjoying it, but there wasn't a lot going on. I do think that I'll definitely reread the first 250 pages and finish off this book at some point. I was intending actually on reading this one so that I could then go and read the Mistborn series, because this one's a standalone, it'll be real easy to finish off, and I think people say you can read this one first because there are some characters in this book that are then in the Mistborn series, but I never did. So I really need to. This is one that I do feel really badly about because it is a really hyped book. Everyone seems to love Brandon Sanderson. So I do need to read it at some point. Probably not this year, maybe next year. The next book that I have is The Dazzling Heights by Catherine Mickey. And this one is the second book in the Thousandth Floor series. I think it's called Thousandth Floor series. The first book is The Thousandth Floor, and then The Dazzling Heights, and then The Towering Sky. I have that one as well over on the other bookshelf. And this one I actually listened to on audiobook. I got around halfway through and stopped listening to it. And that was because I wasn't really enjoying it. I read the first book and it was really interesting because there was a mystery involved. So in the very beginning of the first book, someone falls off the 1000th floor from the 1000th floor. But you don't know who it is, you just know that it's a girl who fell, and then throughout the book you're kind of trying to figure out which one of them it's going to be, and then at the end you find out who it is. But in this book it's kind of the aftermath, and it's a lot more contemporary than I expected when I started this series. It's a lot more about teenage drama, just set within this science fiction kind of setting, which I wasn't anticipating in the beginning, and it made me enjoy it less. I think I gave the first book maybe 3 stars, and this was kind of just, it was just going. Nothing was really happening. Some of the characters I really did not like. They are horrible people, like absolutely horrible people. But I think I will finish it because I do own the books. I might actually try reading it physically instead of the audiobook and see if that makes it any better. But I do plan on finishing it at some point. I own the books, I have to read them. But it probably won't be for a while because there are other books that are a higher priority at the moment. The next one I feel kind of bad about, and that one's The Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. I got about 200 pages into this book and put it down. And this one was again because I wasn't really that interested. Like the first 2 books in the series, I think I gave them 4 stars, 3 stars, they were okay. It's not my favourite series in the world, it was just the hype and the movie really that got me into reading this series. But in this book, not a lot happens. Like the first 200 pages, I really feel like nothing happened. And I just wasn't interested in getting to the end. It was really dragging. I find the writing style to be kind of dense, so it's harder to, like a slog really, to get through. I do plan on finishing it at some point in my life. It's really not a high priority at the moment. I don't know, it was interesting enough. I do want to see what happens at the end of the book, because at the point that I was up to in the series, there's a lot of drama going on, there's a lot of things that need a conclusion. So I'm hoping to one day finish it and see what actually happens to all of our characters, but it won't be anytime soon. I can guarantee that to you, unfortunately. But with this one, let me know if you guys have read it and if it is worth getting through to the end, because it is 500 pages, so I had another 300 to go. I will definitely have to start from the beginning because I don't remember a lot of it, but one day I will. This next one I feel really, really badly about, and that is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. I love the Side series. This is the 3rd book in the Side series, the first one being Scythe, the second one being Thunderhead, and the last one, The Toll. And I love this series so much. But this last book So there's a lot going on because it is the final conclusion, and there was a lot in the first two books that needed to be covered, so I kind of get why it's taking so long. So this book's 650 pages and I'm on page 300. So I get that there is a lot that needs to be fleshed out and for us to understand how we get to our final conclusion. But it was taking so long, and it's kind of the more mundane kind of things, so showing what happens to our characters, and a lot of things happen and have no conclusion, and they're just, you know, waiting around for the other characters to catch up. So in this book we have quite a few perspectives. 3 of them, or maybe 4 of them, you can count as main characters that we followed in the other books. And some of the characters are just kind of waiting around for things to happen while the other characters are off doing things. So it's kind of like you're waiting for the point where all these characters interact, and then the bigger things are going to happen. But as of 300 pages in, there are some important things that have happened, but a lot of it is just, you know, just ordinary, mundane, not a lot's happening. And I know I need to push through. I need to finish this book because I did love the first 2 books. I do think I will enjoy it if I just get through to the point where big things are happening. But I put it down. It was sad. I can't even remember what I picked up instead of this book, but I was just like, you know, I must not be in the right headspace. I'll put it down for a while, pick it up again another time. I think that maybe I could continue from where I am 300 pages in, because I do remember a lot of what happened. But I'd have to see at the time. I might just skim through maybe and then start from the 300 page mark. But we'll see. This is one of the books that I would like to finish before the end of the year, but that I don't think I will. The next book is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. That's it, Jess Rothenberg. Now this book I picked up because of another booktuber that I watch who really enjoyed this book, and I thought I was gonna love it. And it was just okay. So as of this point I'm around 220 pages in, and it's only 320 pages long, so I only had 100 left to go. But I really wasn't enjoying it that much. This book follows this, I think she's like an AI who works at like a Disneyland kind of thing, so she's one of the princesses who interacts with all the guests. And it's following from her perspective and seeing the kind of behind the scenes of it. I feel like reading it again now I might enjoy it more, but at the time I wasn't really enjoying it. But one of the other things is we also follow a murder trial. So at the very beginning of the book you see that this AI that we're following has killed someone, and there is a murder trial surrounding the theme park. Which was really interesting. We didn't actually see a lot from that perspective, because we flash back and forwards from the trial back to before everything happened. And actually I would like to see more of the, you know, present time at the trial and see what the hell's going on. So I will finish this book, probably not this year, but at some point I will. I may restart the book, just because I think there are quite a few things that I would have missed or would have forgotten, and I will need those to kind of understand the last 100 pages. So I will finish this one at some point. The next one that I have is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. And this book I'm about 100 pages in, and it's around 300 pages long, so not even halfway. I actually took this book on holiday with me to Sydney, and I read it on the plane. I read it when we were at Bondi Beach. But then I don't even know why I stopped reading it. Like, I took it with me because I thought that I would really enjoy it, and, you know, I had some free time while on holiday. But then I got back and then didn't continue. I do also own the second book, which is Daughter of the Siren Queen. So I do plan on reading this book so I can get to that one. I do think I would have to restart it because I don't remember a lot of what happened in this series, and I would really need to. So I'd restart it again. As it's only 300 pages, like, this really shouldn't have taken me too long to read. And I think that if I just keep going, I would have read this and read the next one, absolutely loved them, because I was, as I said, really enjoying it. This is one that I think I will get to sooner than some of the others, because they are shorter and fantasy and about pirates. So this first book follows, I can't remember her name, Alosa, I think her name is, something like that. And she is the daughter of the Pirate King. And we follow her as she gets kidnapped and taken aboard this ship. But it's actually a plot, and she was intending to get on board that ship. I can't remember why now, actually, but it was for a purpose. She's either planning on, like, stealing everything from them, or going, or being, like, taken to where they're hiding. She's basically working for her father, the Pirate King, and there was something that she needed. I can't remember what it was, but it was really good, actually. I think the romance in this is meant to be really good as well, which I love. So I'm hoping to get to this one soonish. So this next book I feel kind of bad about as well, and that one is Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. This book I got from, I think it was either a Fairy Loot or an Owl Crate, I can't remember which one. But this book I started, it's got to be 3 or 4 years ago now that I started this book, and I was about 200 pages in. It's only just over 300 pages long, but it drags as well. Like, in this book we follow two sisters who at the beginning, the one sister is trying to win the heart of the prince, so the prince is choosing someone that he's going to take as his wife, I think, or harem, something like that. He has a couple of people. And the sisters go to the main sister, who was planning on being chosen. It was actually like a competition to be chosen. So she had prepared for this, she had beautiful dresses, she was well mannered, stuff like that, and her sister was her basically her helper. She would, like, help her get dressed, stuff like that. She'd never been trained for the kind of life that the other sister had. But then the one who didn't want to be chosen was chosen, and the other sister is actually sent off to a prison island, and that is because they find a book in their shared room that was actually the other sister's. But the sister who was planning on becoming royalty, she is the one who takes the fall for it. She actually can't read, but her other sister can, because her brother had taught her to read, even though it's illegal for women to read or possess books. So she gets shipped off to this prison island, and the other sister becomes a consort or wife. I can't remember what they call it in this book. And so they get set off on different lives than they were intended for, or that they had prepared for. And that's really the starting point for the book, and then we follow both their perspectives through the new paths that have been chosen for them. And it was really interesting, because there is a lot of commentary in this book, but it was quite dense and slow. It took me quite a while to get through. I do plan on finishing this book. I will have to restart it because it has been quite a while since I read it, so I don't remember a lot of the things, as you might tell by my synopsis. But I was really enjoying it. I think that I will enjoy it when I give it enough time and devotion, because this is like some of the other books where I have to really pay attention to the book, and I might not be in the right mindset or might not have enough time to devote to it. So it needs to be, this is a book that I'll need to pick a time for, but I will definitely do that. Not this year, maybe next year. Another book that I started reading and stopped, or started listening to and stopped, I should say, was Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. So as I said, I actually listened to this one through audiobook because I don't own a physical copy. I think I was about halfway through when I stopped reading or listening to it. I was enjoying it up until this point, but then I think I put it down to read something else. But this book follows these beauty queens, so it's these girls that were on a plane going to this beauty pageant. I can't remember where they were meant to be going to, but it's a beauty pageant somewhere, and the plane crashes. It kind of has Lost vibes, and I used to love Lost. I used to watch Lost when I was a teenager, and I really enjoyed that TV show. And so I thought that I would love this book as well. And I actually do plan on finishing it because it is quite similar to Lost in that they're on this island that has these like crazy animals. They're trying to survive. There's a lot of mystery and craziness going on this island. And so I really want to finish it. I think a lot of people didn't really like this book from Libba Bray and enjoy her other books, but I don't think I haven't read a book by Libba Bray before, so that was my first start, but I hope to finish it and enjoy it. I think I will continue with the audiobook, but I'll probably have to restart from the beginning because there are a lot of parts that I have completely forgotten. And the last book of the 10 books is the one that I feel the worst about, and that one is Middle Game by Seanan Maguire. And I absolutely love Seanan Maguire's books. She writes both as Seanan Maguire and she has a pseudonym of Mira Grant. She is my most read author. I think it's like 30 books of hers so far, something like that. Because I've read one of her longer series, which is the October Day series. I'm up to number 12 in that series, as well as reading a lot of her other books. And I thought I would love this book, but it's very, very character driven, and it was quite slow, which is why I put it down. I got to around 250 pages in, and it's around 500, so that's about the halfway point. And it's just very slow. So in this series we have our main characters of Roger and Dodger, who are twins. There is also some other perspectives from these alchemists, and Roger and Dodger have been basically created by them in order to ascend to godhood, is basically the premise behind it. So they create these sets of twins who are meant to go on this, I can't remember, it's like this road or path to somewhere which then they ascend to godhood. But it's that there are certain things needed from these twins in order to let them pass through. So Roger is excellent at maths, Roger is excellent at English, and Dodger is excellent at maths and sciences, and so those are the things needed in order to ascend. But in order to get them to this point, they've been given 2 separate families to take care of them, kind of as experiments. So one set of family actually knows what's going on, the other does not. And it's just following them growing up, coming into contact with each other, and then out of contact, into and out of, throughout their lives. There are some very, very tragic things that happen in this book. And it's very sad. A lot of it is really sad, and it pulls on your heartstrings for these poor kids. But I think that if I finish this, I will love it. As I said, it's very character driven because all we do is follow these kids throughout their lives and, you know, just see how they grow up. But I think the point that I was up to, they're in college. So they're, you know, becoming adults. And I think that from that point we're probably going to get into a lot more of, you know, discovering what the hell is actually happening to them. And I think that if I'd continued on, it would have picked up. I would have loved it. So I will definitely be reading this book. And there's also a book within this book that's coming out this month, which is Over the Woodward Wall, I think it's called. which Sean Maguire is writing as the author that's within this book. So I plan on reading this one so that I can then read that one, and hopefully loving them both. So those are 10 of the books that I have started reading but never finished. Some of them, as I said, I feel really badly about. Others, not so bothered at the moment. I will definitely finish all of these at one point, I'm pretty sure. There's none of them that I've completely written off and will never finish, which I think is a good sign. A lot of them I just need the time to devote to them and to be in the right headspace, because they are quite dense or quite long. So it probably won't be this year that I will finish them, but I will definitely finish these books. Let me know if there are any books that you guys have started that you have stopped reading, and let me know actually if you guys DNF books. I don't often DNF books. I usually put them down with the intent of picking them back up. There's not a lot of them that I've read that I've said, nope, I'm never finishing this book, hated it, won't read it. I usually, even if I really don't like a book, I will push myself to finish it, just so I have an unbiased kind of review of the book. But let me know what you guys think. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.